All right, welcome back. We are WEBD6201 in the winter 2021 semester, and it's week 8, part 2 of our broadcast. And today we're talking about how to make our Ajax site work up online. We had a problem last day, and with the help of TypeScript, how we're going to do that. So remember last day what we did. We had our project, but it wasn't quite working well. And we talked about a couple of reasons why that might be. But if you look at our project online, so if you go to GitHub, Durham Programmer, and if you look at our ICE 7B, this one that we are working on, and if I go to my deployment page, like we talked about before, we have a problem. The problem says, well, first of all, it says 404 page not found. That's our own message that we have. And when we actually try and do something like login, if I actually go to the login page and log in, we have an issue. It actually does a real 404 file not found. Now, there's a couple of things that are happening with GitHub compared to our local site. And I want to mention this to you because of a couple of things. First of all, take a look at the errors that I'm getting. If I go to logout, as an example, it says this isn't a page, right? Because it's trying to go to durhamprogrammer.github.io/whatever. And even if I was to put in the other link, let's say, for example, I don't go there, right? There isn't a site for this, durhamprogrammer.github.io. We don't have a site for this, like a standard site. So that's something to know, right? If I go back, and if I go to here, right? So if I go to my standard site, this is the site that I've deployed on GitHub pages. You'll have the same problem, by the way. And if I kind of go on to login, so I type in login, press enter, I get this. This is a different response, as an example. So it says you must provide an index.html file, right, for this site, right, login. And we have an index.html file. So I configured that this address does not contain the requested file. So it's looking for login, but there is no login, right? There's an index.html. If I go to just this, or if I just type in index.html, we're good. It's going to take us here, index.html. So how do we make it so, first of all, we're going to have a problem because, well, the way we've configured our local site, so if I was going to deploy locally, and there's a couple of things we want to do when working with TypeScript. The first thing we want to do with TypeScript is first let's transpile, because we're going to start working with this project. So again, remember transpiling is Control-Shift-B, or if you want to, you can use your terminal to type in TSC. If you want to just kind of transpile one time, TSC in your terminal will do it. That'll transpile everything. Anything that needs to be transpiled, it'll do it. If you want to transpile and watch, it's TSC -W for the watch task. So you can actually kind of put it into watch mode. So watch your project. Okay, we're not going to do that though. Let's use the built-in stuff in our task runner here for Visual Studio. So Control-Shift-B, it'll bring up the task runner. And there's two. We can do a build task, right? Or we can do a watch task. Also notice that there's a little settings for configure task. And if you notice what it says is, if I go to configure task, it says version 2. Here's my task. The type is TypeScript. The tsconfig is tsconfig.json. It looks there. Option is a watch option. And then the label is tsc watch TypeScript. You can change these labels to make them whatever you want. You can make your own task runner, if you will, like this. Okay, so we don't need this. I'm just showing you what it does, how Visual Studio deals with it. So Control-Shift-B, right? If I choose the watch task, right? What it'll do is it'll wait. It'll wait for my and watch for any changes. That's the first thing. Second thing is I want to put this live, right? So I'm going to go light server and let's look at it live. Locally, it works. If I go to here and I go to login and I put in my admin and right, click login, good to go. No problem. I can log in, I can see my stuff, I have my contact list, all that stuff. But why does it do this? Well, the trick lies in the way we do our navigation. So if I look at my app.ts, and by the way, one thing we haven't talked about in Visual Studio Code is the ability for us to do kind of jump around with the outline. So on the left here, you'll see that there is the project, and on the bottom here, there's something called outline. If I click on outline, it'll bring up my entire outline for my project based on all the methods that I've got here. And all methods will have even variable names that you can inspect. So if I click on message area, it'll actually, pop me right to the message area, which is a variable, or full name. It'll just get me right there to all the stuff that I'm looking at. You can actually inspect the entire project this way, which I feel is very useful. So you should be able to see this as well. Oh, first of all, let me ask, can you see this outline? Yes or no? Check mark if you can see it, X if you can. Hopefully you can. Awesome. Thank you for that. All right, so yeah, so the outline's cool. So one thing we know is when I click on any one of these things, I'm just closing them up so you can see them all, right? So these are all the functions here in this 500 line file, right? If I go, let's go to load header for a second. So load header, we go here, we load this part, which is, this is the header for, but the header actually, it uses every link in the navigation. It creates this ability for us to swap in and swap out the active class and loads content. So that's what it does. And if I keep going, and if I look at something like display login, my display login page displays the login information. And then when we click on if it's success, if we have a successful login, then we're going to use Href. Oh man, here's the problem. If I do an Href, this is actually switching or moving to a new link. And the new link is /contact list. / means go to the root of your folder, the root of your project, and put in contact list. Well, of course, this is not going to work because online, right, the root of my project would be github.io, the main github.io folder. So I could try and put in the name of my project, but that's project specific. What if I was to go up online or something like that, or deploy it somewhere else? I'd have to switch that out. And that doesn't seem right now at this point. So today I'm not going to do that. But one thing I want to do is I want to swap this out, this href. I don't want to do an href. I want to make another way or create another vehicle, if you will, or technique in order for us to move around. And the way I want to call it is I want to make my own kind of internal movement. So I'm going to reload my page instead of using href. Now this is going to produce a bunch of rework for us, right? Because the way we've been doing it right now is href, and the way we do a load login or toggle login, all that stuff is going to be all different. So we're going to have a bit of work to do. Let's try this out. So first, I'm going to jump up to the top where I have my load header. And right underneath the core, I'm going to put a brand new function that we're going to call load link. The load link function is going to take some kind of link, which is a string. Okay, so I want to load this link. And what I also want to carry forward is some kind of, well, for now, let's just do this. It's going to return void. And this load link is going to do basically what this does, right? So it's going to kind of go here. It's going to take the active link, whatever it is, and it's going to wipe it out as an example. And it's going to give me the new active link as whatever the link that I passed in here is. So let's just grab all this information. This is, again, I'm looking at load header to grab this information under the on-click event, right? And I'm putting this in here, and I'll talk about why in a second. So I'm loading a link. I'm taking the string, which is a link. Instead of the active link being this attribute ID, which is what's happening down here in the on-click event, we're going to say that the active link is actually the link, whatever the link is. Okay, so that's going to be the thing. So I'm going to pass the link that I passed my load link function, right, into this active link right here. Okay, so that's what's going to do it, which means that now, just by doing this, I can swap out this part. So I can swap out this part here with load link. Now, one thing we want to be careful about is I'll do it underneath here for a second. So I'll do load link. And then inside there, I want to pass in the link. Well, the link is this attribute ID. That's what this link is. So that's what I'm passing in here. Okay, so I don't want to lose that part. Now that I have this, I can wipe all this out, right? Because that is the link that we need to go to for when I click on one of the items on the navigation, right? So the header, it basically says, hey, look, load the header. The header loads the navigation. The navigation allows me to load link and all that kind of stuff. Okay, that's what it does. We still got issues. Okay, we definitely have issues, and we'll talk about this in a bit. But first of all, that's what it does. It says, hey, get the component, and then I want to look at the header, get the data, and then I want to add this, and then on for every anchor tag, right, is what I'm saying, on click, for every anchor tag on click, then do this. Okay. And I have my toggle login method right there. Okay, let's see how this works if I do it like this now. So load link, then I want to test it to see if it's working the way it was before. This is locally first. Let's test it locally, and then we'll push deploy remotely. Going back to this, I'm going to log out, and I'm going to go to, actually, well, one thing to note is if this wasn't working, and we should go and do an inspect. If I go to console, or if I go to sources, and if I go to scripts, and if I look at my app.ts, here's my app.ts, and if I scroll up, it says load link. There's load link, and here I'm loading the link. So that's what this is. That's how this is working up here. This is using load link, right? And app.js is the conversion, right, to JavaScript. And you can see, again, I have my load link function right there. So that is all good. It means that it's already working, right? So I can click on any one of these things, and it's going to take me to the links and load the link without doing an href so far, okay? Cool. Let's use that load link idea in other places. So load link is going to do this. It's going to pass in the link. It's not going to reload the page. It's going to give me the active link. That's what it's going to give me. Active link is going to be something I pass in. And I'm going to be able to use, when I load the link up, it also, what it does is it swaps out the active link, right? So it removes the class active. So that way, when I click on the link here, right, depending on what I'm clicked on, it highlights that link. That's what it does. That's what load link does, okay? Load link does all that stuff. Yay, awesome. So what if I want to remove all my hrefs and I want to replace it with load link? That's the first step I want to do. So I'm going to do a Control F, which is going to search. And what I'm searching for is anything with href in it. So anything that has href, I want to search through. I have 9 references to href. I want to think about this. Well, now this is going to be interesting. So this is the first one I'm landing on. It's like, that won't work, right? Because I have a link, and after that, I have some kind of data. Link plus data. Okay, that's new. I have link by itself, a bunch of links by itself, but then I have link plus data. This is a special case. Let's do we're going to do a to-do right here. Fix this case. So we're going to fix this case to make sure that this works too. Link plus data, which is equal to link plus data. All right, because we don't have a link plus data. We only have a link right now. All right, so here in my location.href, let's start changing these ones. So how would this look? This would look like this. I would take my location.href away and go load link, right? And we will pass in the link. Now we need to be careful because when I load link and I pass in /contact list, right? What does it actually do? So if I go back to load link, it takes the link, the string, and then it passes the string to my active link, right? That's what it does. Okay. It searches for router.activeLink, whatever that active link is right now. It removes the first class that's in there, active. It gives me the new thing and then tries to find it, right? Well, no, it won't make two slashes, but it's going to look for it, right? It's going to look for a slash, so a hashtag slash, and whatever it's going to be, that is going to fail right there. This is going to fail. As well, when I go to load content is down in here, load content. And then I'm going to go, hey, content, how you doing? Let's load you, content, and then slash, right? Slash, slash, there's that, what you just said, Nick. Page name, right? Because page name is the link. That's the page name, because that's what I'm doing with this. I'm taking the page name, that's the first part of the active link, right? And I'm making that up, and I'm trying to load that view, but there isn't that view. That doesn't exist. So that'll be an error, all right, if I did that. So we can't do it that way. That's not the way we do it with active link. And let's just do that href again and search for the top, right? So again, if I go all the way to the top for the first instance, there we are. So this, we don't put this in, we don't put a slash, we just put a regular contact list without the slash. Don't put the slash, just the name of the link. That's the way, that's the first thing to learn from this thing. Okay, let's do the rest. So load link. Okay, so we don't put the slash, take the slash away. And as we go through, we're going to go to the next one. So the next one is here, href, load link. We're going to have issues. Remember, I told you there's going to be a bit of a reworking of our code because we're changing the way we're doing things. We're not using href anymore, which means we're not reloading anymore, which means our router only gets loaded once. Okay, so that's a thing to also consider. Load link. Okay, and let's keep going until we can get rid of all those. Load link, right? Make sure we take all those away. And then we'll check load links and confirm that they're all done properly. There's another one down there, right? So that is this one. Let's get rid of the slash, right? And let's keep going to the next one. There's only a few left. Here's one. Load link. Now let's get rid of this and put this there. Okay, and the last one, which is this one. Now I'm not looking at what these are. I'm just replacing right now. Okay, and save. And let's go back up to the first one, the first instance, which we haven't replaced yet. We haven't replaced this one. All right, let's see what our crazy changes did, because this is also going to impact our code. How does this impact our code when we move around? Let's go back and check it out. So first things first, let's confirm a couple of things. In our application, let's just make sure we're not logged in. So session says we're not logged in, that's good. I want to go back just in the beginning to our first page, this one, to reload for the first time, fresh, right? Okay, let's see if just the regular, the way we do things works. So I'm going to go about, that looks like it works, projects, services, contact us. All right, now let's see if we can log in. So log in, this is using the new links, right? And I go to admin, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I want to click log in, and we got problems immediately. We logged in, it did it, but here's what happened. Look, which we call toggle login, that didn't work, right? Why did toggle login not work? Well, let's log out. So again, we're just going to delete this, delete the key and refresh, right? Well, toggle login, and this is a problem we have now, is whenever we load link, right? We load it up, but what's happening in the header toggles our login, right? And then after our header is toggled, we run through each of the links that we just kind of created, and we create an on kind of a click event for each of them, each of the links that's been toggled for the first time, like example, including the login page. So this is an issue, okay? And like I said, this is where we're going to have some reworking, because toggle login, it triggers here, but it only triggers once when we load header. We only load header one time, right? We don't load header more than once because we're not reloading our page anymore. So toggle login will only trigger one time, but we want to trigger toggle login every time, right? And the way we want to do this is as soon as we trigger toggle login, right? And again, there's a couple things. I'm loading my link, I load my header, and I toggle login, but we can't do it here, right? But if we don't do it here, then it won't be picked up by my on-click event. This is going to cause other side effects if I don't do it here, toggle login. So I can definitely leave it here, right? Because it'll do it once. This is the first time it does it. But I need to call it, if I'm smart, another time, at least another time, right? But this is going to, again, propose or present issues. Let's go to toggle login and see what I'm talking about. So if I scroll all the way down on the left in my outline, I go to toggle login, and I take a look at these things, how it works. Okay, so I check to see if I've got a user registered. If the user is registered already, then I want to swap out my login and make it log out. That's what it does. Okay, when the user first gets registered. And then I want to make a link for my logout because I didn't have it before. Okay, so logout happens. And then I load link login. If I press logout, it'll go to login. Okay, so that's what login and logout do. All right. And then I make a mouse over for logout as an example, and then I swap away. When I go to login, my login link, everything is great. Or I create it. I create the way to get to my login link, and then I also make a contact list. My contact list item, right? My contact list item will be created as an example, and it'll insert before my login list item, which is this thing, okay, which is actually my code. However, if I'm not logged in, so the user is not logged in, then it's going to swap out the contents, the HTML of my login and make it login again. Okay. So this is going to be a problem. So let's think about the order of things when we do this the first time now that we're not reloading the page anymore. So I go to load header, toggle login. So it says, hey, am I logged in? The answer is no. So leave it as login. Don't put a logout yet. Okay, so leaves it on login. There's no contact list. Then I click the login link. The login link basically says, okay, cool. I'm clicking the login link. It takes me to my login page. All right, think about the process here. So I'm just tracing it with you. I go to my login page, which means I display login. That's what I'm doing here. So display login. So here's my display login page, right? I make a click method on the login button on the page, and I get the information for the page to log in. And as long as everything goes well, if I have success, I create my user item. And then as soon as I do that, I load link to contact list immediately. Load link to contact list. Okay, as soon as I load link to contact list, then, right, I go to my contact list. So here's display contact list. Well, first of all, let's go to load link. Load link goes back to here. It removes the active link, whatever that was from login. It takes my new link, contact list, highlights it, right? Or does that link, loads content for the contact list with my active callback function, whatever that is. So here's my contact list, right? So load content, contact list. Let's go to load contents. So load content goes to here. I load the contact list, right? contact list.html is the template that I'm using, right? Content template. And then I inject it into my my main. I execute my callback function, which is my display contact list. So that is display contact list. Again, we're just tracing it here so you can get a sense of how this works, right? So display contact list is here, right? So I do this thing, I do an auth guard, and my auth guard, if I go to definition, checks to see if I'm logged in, and if I'm not logged in, it'll take me back to my login page. That's what it'll do, and it'll redisplay it. So this is something to note. All right. So that's what this this does. Let's go back to display contact list. However, if I am logged in, which I am, I check to see if my local storage again is greater than 0, and if it is, I display everything. This is looking at the data that I'm getting from local storage, right? I'm doing it, I get the keys and whatever, and I start displaying the data. Okay. After I display the data, I have a couple of buttons, my edit button and my delete button and my add button. Those three things I have there. Okay. There's nowhere here in my contact list then that I do a toggle login. I never did that. I could put it in here. Toggle login. But what if I have 10 more pages? I got to put it in each of the page? That's, I mean, I could, but that is an issue. And if I was to put toggle login in there, I'm going to have a problem. So why? Because if you realize what toggle login is doing, right? I'm not going to have once I swap out my login for logout, logout is going to have a link, but login won't anymore, right? So that's an issue. And also this won't actually be registered as a link that I can click on anymore. Because why? This doesn't get registered before I do my for loop to go through all the links on the nav bar and fix this problem, right? Because the nav bar gets created one time. I'm not reloading my nav bar more than once. So again, I'm going through the problem. This is the issue that I have, right? So this is where the reworking comes into play. So toggle login, if I call it more than once, I'm going to have issues, right? Why? Because every single time I click on an item with toggle login, if I call it on click every single time I go to an active link, right? Then what it's going to do is it's going to look to see if I'm logged in, and if it is, it's going to create this, and it's going to keep creating this every single time. I'm going to create multiple versions of my contact list because it's going to check that I'm logged in. I am logged in. If I click about, contact, whatever, any of those links on the top here, imagine I'm logged in and I click this. It's going to make a new contact list entry every single time. Why? Because I'm not reloading, my friends. I'm not reloading. I'm going to do this over and over again, which means I got to check to see if I'm already have this issue, this thing here. Otherwise, it's going to keep creating it. Okay, so that's where it's going to be. So if I put it in load content, that's what it's going to do, Nick. It's going to keep on reloading and stuff. And I can make a check for this, but that might be an issue. So I could put it, again, toggle login, right? I could put it inside only the pages that I need. So I only toggle my login in that case. But then if I only put it there, that means only in the contact list. When I'm on the contact list page, will you see the login, logout? That's bad, right? So one other question. So then when we create a variable to store the check, if they already exists and it doesn't, print it, otherwise ignore, we could. We could also keep state. So this is something we can do. We have a router, right? We have a router option, right? And the router basically can tell if we're logged in and logged out. So one thing I didn't do yesterday is use the router to do that, right? The router, right now, all we have for the router is an active link, right? But I can also keep track of link data, which is what we want, as well as if I'm logged in and logged out. This only happens once, but it's now a class that doesn't reload. And I can check, I can set that. Once I've set it, then what I can do is I can check to see if it's logged in, right? This is also something I can do here, but it's the same as me checking if my user's there or not, right? But the active link data is definitely something that I want to think about. How do I fix that problem? Because right now, if I go and log in, let's take a look, without any kind of smart stuff happening. If I go and log in the way it is, and if I click on edit, I'm going to get an href to do this, right? This is an href. I can't do this with an href where it reloads. I don't want that, right? So yeah, I can definitely check those things, but again, it's going to be one thing or the other. So that's where we're going to have an issue. Notice that logout didn't trigger here. Logout didn't change back to login because of my toggle login didn't work, right? Because we never reloaded the page. So that's an issue, right? So let's fix the first problem. First problem is I want to make everything a load link. All right, so where it says m active link in my router, I'm in my router.ts file. I'm going to change this to private m underscore link data, link. And we can also call this active link data or whatever, but we're just going to call link data, which is also a string. All right, so link data, I want to set and get link data. So let's make a setter and getter for this. So I want to say get link data, right, which is going to return a string. And we're going to return this.m underscore link data, right? Pretty simple for now. And we're also going to set link data with the new data, whatever that is, which is a string, okay? And we're going to say that this.m underscore link data is equal to data. So that we did our due diligence, we've got the ability for us to pass in link data into our router, because we need to store that information temporarily when we do our edit, okay? Okay, so this is the first thing we want to change, because that's something we want to keep track of, our link data. And link data means if I click edit and I want to pass in some extra data, I can do so. All right, how do I fix that in my app.js so it works? So I'm doing this little backwards, app.js I mean. I'm doing this a little backwards than how I did it yesterday with the other class, but I'll explain why. So again, if I go to my load link now, my load link only takes a string, but I want to take an optional piece of data. I don't want to mess up everyone, just the ones that I need to. So I'm going to say data, which is a string type, is equal to this. This is a way of making it option because I'm assigning some data to it. So whether I add data to this or not, it doesn't matter. I'm going to pass in something or nothing. That's what my link will do. Let's make some documentation for this. All right, so again, we're going to do one of these, document this, and it's going to say, notice that it says string, right? And we're going to say that this method switches page content with the link that is passed to the relative to the link that is passed into the function, right? Function, not a method. And optionally, link data can also be passed. Okay, something very simple like this, link data. So then how would this work? Router.activeLink is equal to link, and then we can say that router.link data is equal to data. Because we just made link data in my router, it picked it up right away, right? It knows it's a string, we picked up the data and we have it in there. So this is good. So now we can fix up the next href that we're able to do. We can fix this problem, right? So location href is going to change to, now it'll be load link. We won't pass in the slash or the hashtag. We don't need that. And then what we need instead is to pass in link data, which is this.val But this dot val, remember, we cannot guarantee that this dot value is going to be a string because val returns string, number, or string array. So we're going to convert it to string to make sure. Okay, so that's what it does. So that is going to be the way we go from one link to the other. Okay, so that is this. And let's see if this works still when we do this. So we're going to kind of go back out to here, and we're not logged in. I'm going to go to login and admin. We're not going to fix the other part yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Log in. We're here, right? And then if I click edit now, oh, what happened, right? Issues. Right? We went there. We were to get to the edit page, but nothing got loaded. Why? Well, let's go to display edit. So again, I went to edit, which goes back to display edit. Okay, but we never use the active link. We never use that link data, right? So we need to use it now. So display edit, we get to here. Our key is our hash. Well, our key can't be our hash. There is no location hash anymore. It's got to be link data. So router dot link data, if it exists. If it doesn't exist, if the key doesn't exist, then if that's not equal to 0, so if it does exist, then we can deserialize. If it doesn't exist, then we'll change it to an add contact. Okay, so let's see if this works now. So all I did was change this to the key in the display edit to link data. Let's go back to here, and let's go back. Can't go back, right, to my contact page, but let's go to log out for now. Wow, lots of problems, right? And let's just rejig it to this. Nice. We're not logged in. We're going to log in. Again, one thing at a time, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Log in. I want to edit this one, edit, and now we got the ability for us to edit that again because we're passing in the data. Let's see if the editing works. So again, I want to go log and low, I don't know, making it up, and edit, and then log and low gets updated. So that's cool. Deletion also works. What about adding? Let's see if I can add a new piece of data. Add, Tom Smythe, right? And we'll say 416-558-5558, and tom.smythe at example.com. Yes, and I want to click add, and Tom Smythe gets added. I want to delete Tom Smythe. Deletion works, no problem. All that works now. I can display, I can edit, I can delete. All that's good. How about adding a new contact? Can I add a new one? I did. I was able to add a new contact. So all this works great, but this part doesn't work great. So this part's the next part. So let's put up the part that we have. So you have part of it working. So we've changed everything, removed hrefs, and now we added our own link system. Let's log out and go to login. Okay. So control backtick. I want to go to my command prompt and I'm going to say git add dot git commit -m, and I'll say removed href and added load link, right? Git push, right? So that way we know that we have no more hrefs in our code. We don't go and reload the page. We only just use the same page and we just reload the content. So this is kind of fixing up our Ajax issue. Let's check this online and see what the effect is going to be live. So again, we're not clear yet. One way one thing we have to do is wait for this to propagate, right? So again, what I want to do is I want to step back, keep stepping back until I get to my this thing right here, right? And we can look at the commit and see if it's propagated. Propagating means that there's a check mark, right, from today that says, hey, we've deployed properly now. If there was an X, it would be saying something's wrong, right? But we don't have a problem. It's deploying nicely. We still have page not found. That's okay. But let's see if I can log in now. So if I go here and click min 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and click login, I'm good, right? Now it doesn't error out anymore. But we still have the same issue remotely as we do locally. I can edit. Editing works, right? And I can delete. Deletion is also going to work if I want to, and adding. All that stuff is working as normal. So the functionality that we have is working. We just need to fix now the navigation. Navigation is broken. If yours didn't log in, Nick, make sure that you compare your code with my code, please, because yours should log in. Okay. All right. So this is good. We've got this part down, and no problem. But we need to do something with this toggle login stuff, and we got to think about this a little bit before we put it into place. It's not redirecting. Yeah, well, there's no redirection, right? Remember, it's just reloading. Reload the page. Make sure that the hrefs are changed. All right, so so that is an issue, right? The issue that we have is when we redirect or when we reload, when I do load link, right? I'm not redoing the header. I'm not redoing the header at all, right? I'm not wiping out the header and remaking it. So that is a way I could do it. I could wipe out the header, so wipe out the navigation, and then call toggle login again and see if I'm logged in again. But if I do the navigation and if I go back up to load header, I'm going to have issues, right? Because it's going to come here. If I call load header again, which is kind of what I want to do, if I think about this, I load the header. It's going to load the header again, right? And swap out the data that is inside of my my page. So this is something that's going to happen, right? So load link is going to load the header. Load header is going to load the link. Bad things. It's going to be a cyclical reference. It's going to keep going forever and ever. But this idea of reloading the information is the right idea. It's the right thing, or something like this, right? Where I load the header and then I toggle login, and after I toggle login, then I can do stuff. And then I can add my class active to the page and all that stuff. But what if we just remove this toggle login completely, because it's not working anyway, okay? And what we want to do is what kind of, I think Nick mentioned this earlier, which is as soon as I load my link, right, and I load my data, so in my load content area, I want to toggle login in there, but I want to wait for my page to load before I do it. Okay, so I don't want to toggle login until after the page finishes loading. Okay, so I'll load my page, yay, and then I don't call my callback, right? Because my callback function is something that can work as an example, and then I want to toggle login. All right, so it really depends on how you see this. Do I want to toggle login after I execute my callback, right? Where do I want to toggle login? And all it's going to do is just switch the links. That's all I'm doing. The links have to work, the navigation. Or do I want to switch the links after I do my callback function, right? So remember, the callback function is going to execute. It's going to add functionality, behavior. That's what the callback function is going to do, right? It's going to execute behavior, and then I can do toggle login. It doesn't matter which way I do it, but let's try and do toggle login first. So I'll say something like toggle login. This is where it should be, right? And I'm going to call toggle login every single time I load my page, my content. Okay, now this is going to be where I'm going to have issues again. So I go back to this, and let's go and refresh the page. Okay, here's the page itself. So I make sure that this is already saved. We have everything saved and updated, yes. I go to login, and now I can't even click on login anymore. Why? Because these are links, but login is not. So I could fix it by going into login, go to definition, right? And what I could do here in my login is when I create my login page for the first time, right? I have my logout link. Here's my logout link, right? And I could put my login link. This login link, I'm not logged in. I never made this link before. I need to make a login link too. So let's just copy all this, right? Just to make it clear. And put this in there. But remember, whenever we do copying and pasting, in your mind, you should say to yourself, is there a better way to do this kind of stuff? Because it doesn't make sense. If I'm copying and pasting, this could mean an issue, right? So I want to do login. If I'm logged in, click, then I want to, now it says load link login, right? So when I log in, I want to load link login, right? This is logout, right? Goes to my login page. When I click login, it goes to my login page. Both go to my login page. So that's good. And then when I hover over my login, it's got to look like a link. So I want to do this. Okay, so that's the first part. Cool, I got it. And now when I go back to the page, I can click on login. Yay, excellent. But now this is not highlighted anymore. What? Why is this not highlighted anymore? It should be, shouldn't it? Well, it doesn't exist, right? Remember? The whole highlighting thing happens when after this thing exists, and because this thing doesn't exist yet, this part, right? Then it can't highlight it because it can't find it. Issues, my friends, right? So that's a problem. Let's not worry about highlighting for now. Let's move on to the next part. We want to take care of each of these issues one thing at a time, right? All right, so let's try and log in. So first of all, let's go back to the beginning to make sure that it's all reset. I'm going back to this. I'm clicking on login. No highlighting. That's fine. It's an issue. Admin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Log in. Do I get a logout? Yes, I do. But if I click About Us and Services and Contact and I keep clicking the link, you're going to see that the link is going to grow now. Forever and ever and ever and ever. Why is this? Oh, well, my friends, and it won't wipe out when I go back to login. Well, my friends, the reason why it's going to add all these links and doesn't wipe them away is because I'm not reloading. I'm adding, right? Back to this. So load login, toggle login is an issue, right? Well, it's going to say, okay, so when I'm logged in, I want to swap out this contact list. I want to put in the contact list item. But I want to check to see if if I have the contact list item already. I don't have a way of detecting if that's true. So let's make a contact list link. So I'm going to say ID is equal to contact list link. I got to check to see if it's there, right? And if it's already there, don't add it. Okay. How do I do that? I'm going to say if and only if my contact list link doesn't exist, then add it. So if, hey jQuery, I want to get an ID of contact list link. Does that exist? If this exists, if the link exists, that single link, if it exists, then and only then, if it doesn't exist, then and only then do I want to load this link. So it says, hey, if this does not exist. Now this is kind of ugly. We can also make it so that we can say let contact list link equals to this, just to make it clear what it does. Kind of makes a reference to the contact list link. Okay, and then I'm going to check to see if it's there. Contact list link. Checks if contact list link is already present. And we want to say is not already present. If it's not already present, then add it. This is what this does. Add contact list link. Okay. So this is what this does. Okay. It's not going to add it unless I need to add it. Okay, cool. Back to this. Admin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Log in. Okay, cool. But now I have this other problem where I can certainly, it won't add it again, right? But I can't click on it when I'm not on it because it's not a link, right? Back to this again. Okay, so I add a link. If it's not a link, add it, right? And then I want to do this again, right? Again and again. I want to kind of add an event listener for the link. I want to create the link for me, and I want to make the cursor look like this. It's the exact same thing over and over again, guys, right? So that is an issue. That is definitely an issue. And the only thing that's different is my logout. My logout does some kind of callback function. So I need a couple things. I need to pass in, whenever I click on a link, I need to, first of all, I need to have when I'm clicking on a link, it's just going to go to the page, okay? Except for my logout function, where it has a special case that it also does session clear, because I don't have a page for my logout, right? Logout doesn't really have a page. It just does one little function for me, right? Which is this. So this is the case. This is the exception, okay? But every other time, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this for my my contact list. I'm going to do this even when I do in my load header. If I go to load header, I'm even going to do it here, right? Where I'm going to do this for the load header. So that's also duplicated in here. For every link, I want to load link, and when I load link, I want to add in an item, right? So this is where I'm putting this into play. Okay. And by the way, I could say, search this again. I could do this function again. And this function itself could be the thing that I'm doing, where I'm just annotating all the links that I've got on there, right? I'm adding event listeners. I keep adding event listeners. What about removing event listeners? Because they're actually adding to memory usage, right, over time. So that's something we have to think about as well. But anyways, let's think about this. So I'm adding a link here, and I'm calling this one time. This is happening inside of my function when my page loads. Okay, what if I did this? I annotated each of these things, right? And I added an event listener for the click event and the mouse over. Now, because it's the same event, it's doing the exact same function. So on click, is it going to add in 2 clicks? Is it going to do that every time I click on something? If I add, an event listener twice, what does it do, right? Well, if it's the same anonymous function, it should overwrite. So if I call this function here, which is something like, we want to create link events, right? Add link events. That's what it is. Let's make that a thing. So I'll make a new function. This is something I didn't do in the last class. So I want to make a new function, and it's going to be like something like add link events. Add link events, right? It's going to return void. And the only thing it's going to do for us is do this, right? So I'm going to grab all this. It's going to re-annotate all my links, everything that has an anchor tag on it, right? It's going to make it a link, right? Should I do this? Think about what this is going to do. Depending on when I load my toggle login, right? Depending on when I do this, if I don't do this properly, it's going to add links to even the buttons, because buttons can be links. Anything, this can mess up other things. But add link events, it's got to be in the right thing. That's what this does, add link events. So then what I can do is I can wipe this out, add link events, right? Add, and just before we get there, I just want to annotate this part. This part actually doesn't belong here. It belongs up here, because that's what it does. It kind of loops through each anchor tag, an unordered list, and right? Now we didn't do that. We said only any anchor tags. So we didn't say anchor tags and unordered lists, right? So we could specify. We could say that only anchor tags in unordered links. So unordered lists that contain list items and list items that contain anchor tags, that is going to be added in, right? So specific. So there's not just any link item. It's more specificity, right? So again, and only the anchor tags that are in a list item that are in a UL right, on our list are going to be the ones that I want to access. So very specific. So it won't mess us up anywhere else. Okay, this is neat. This is good. I like it. And so now when I have this functionality, which is this add link events function, let's get rid of it here. So let's call this add link events, right? Because now that makes sense, right? We get it. We do the header, add the class, add link events. You can add link events again, right? Theoretically. Let's see what happens to it now. Again, one thing begets another thing, right? So to speak, right? So let's go to that toggle login thing, right? So toggle login, right, gets called or whatever, right? And we added link events, right, to this thing here, but we're also going to add it to toggle login, and I'm going to call toggle login every single time. Every single time I load a piece of content, I'm going to call toggle login, right? And when I call toggle login, it's going to check to see this. And what I want to do is, after I decide what links I need, if I need a link at all, then at the bottom, regardless of what I do, I want to add link events. Add link events, right? Because whether I go to my toggle login or not, I want to make it so it's all clickable. But I have a special case with my logout link, right, that is going to mess things up, because this is going to check, it's going to change my session storage here if I click on logout. Let's see what happens if I did this. Does it replace my on-click event for my logout link? And my mouse over? Well, how about this stuff? Does it take care of this? And do I still need this? Let's check it out. So first, let's get rid of all this because we don't need it, right? And let's make sure what our add link events does. Add link event says for every link, go to the attribute that is the link itself and access that link, whatever that link is. And then change the CSS from my cursor to make it a pointer, but only for stuff that's inside the UL, or the list item, the anchor tag that's in a list item that's in a UL. Okay. So let's go back to toggle login. Toggle login seems to be our biggest issue anyway, right? So let's go there. So we're going to annotate this again. So we have our logout. This doesn't need to be there because we're going to add it in with our links, right? So to speak. But this part we want to do special. Our logout link, we want to do special. Okay. So I'm just pointing this out. This is neat. I like this, whatever, and this add link events does what we need to do for stuff again. And let's see what it does if I click on the link. So save. I want to log out. It works still, right? And I go to this, reload the page just to make sure. I can go to each of these links again, and just to get a sense of what's happening in my console. My load homepage got called 21 times. Okay, I just want to point this out for a second. So let's go back to this and reload the page for the first time. Here's my homepage got called once. All right, now watch this. About homepage. When I clicked on the homepage, it got loaded 5 times. Does that make sense to you? No, but I'm saying right here, this should say 5. So if I click About Us, Projects, let's just do this as the same thing. So if I add it in, so if I go to Display Home, right? And if I put this thing here and here and here just to test. So this is Display Home, About Page function called, Projects page function called, just a test. This is what I'm trying to show you. And Services page functions called. Let's just see what happens when I do this. So again, I go back, and if I go to Home, Home page got called twice. About page got called 4 times. Project got page called 8 times. Services got called 16 times, right? Contact got called. We didn't do a contact page, but let's see, about a 64 times. Project got called 128 times, you know, and it's going to be crazy. So why is it happening? Because we keep on adding events every single time. We keep on adding events, but we never remove any of them. So whenever we go and add events, I want to say, hey, if the event exists, get rid of it, right? We don't want to keep adding events every single time. We want to toggle it off the entire time. So there are functions for this because it's like I'm doing add event listener every single time, right? So first I want to clear all the events off all of the links, right? I want to clear all the events. And I want to clear all the events for mouse overs too. So I want to do that for all the links. So back to this. First, we clear all the events. And by the way, we could also search up to see, I want to remove all event listeners, right, from JavaScript. Okay, let's just, is there a possibility? It says, and there is an off event that we're going to use, right? That's the one we're going to use. We can always use remove event listeners, and there's going to be a thing where we can loop through each of the functions to click it off and unbind all the events every single time, right? So that is definitely something we can do. If you go down here and it looks like where we want to remove events, I want to remove all the events from from the stack, if you will, right? Because I'm adding events every single time. We don't want to add events every single time. Like I told you, it causes issues. So I want to say, let's make it remove, well, we're going to say off. We're going to say off click. We don't want the click event to trigger anymore, right? And we're also going to say that we don't want the mouse over event to trigger. We want to remove all events first and then add them back in. That makes sense. All right. So, and I'm saying this because if they exist, they'll be removed. If they don't exist, right, then that'll be bad. So this will be remove all events. So remove all events first. Okay, that's what it does. So remove all events. We should do that anyway because now we're reloading the page. So remove all events first, then add all the events back in. Okay. Okay. And let's test how this works. So again, I'm going to go back to this, and I want to reload my page. So let's just see if it only loads once. So here, it loads once. Okay. About us, once. Projects, once. Services, and if I keep clicking it, it's going to load once. This is good. So it only ever loads once. Every time I click it, it loads another time. Okay. And that's good. That's how we're going to fix it. But now we have our login link works. Here's how it works. We have our contact list. That works. I can go to my contact list, right? Go back and forth. Logout does not work. So it says callback does not exist on logout. See? There's an issue. If it's the logout event, if I'm calling logout, when I want to do this, remember I said this is a special event that's going to try and load, right? So add event links. It does all this stuff. We add the event link for this. It says load link, right? When I load link, it's going to try and load the event. In the event that load link is loading a logout event, which is this, if it's loading a logout event, don't do this. Well, we don't want to do all of this, right? When we're logging out, all we want to do is we want to redirect, right, back to login. That's what we want to do. And that's the only time it happens. That's a special case where a logout clears everything. So if I go to toggle login, I'm just going to split screen here to make it easy for us to see this. Right now, this is a hack more than anything else because if you think about what I'm going to do here, I want to take the code that's in here inside of my toggle and my logout, this session clear, and go to login link. That is going to be the special case. That's the only case that I want to deal with differently than every other case when I load link. Okay. So remove class active, that has to happen. Active link is equal to link, right? But what I'm actually going to do is I want to redirect back to my my login page. It's like I'm logging this in again, right? So what I'm actually going to do is say this: if my link, right, is equal to logout, because that's going to happen, right? My logout link. If I go to logout, because that's the link that's going to happen. So logout is going to be clicked, not here. It's going to be clicked when I do add active links, right? I'm going to click the logout link. So this won't be anymore here, right? If my link is logout, then what I want is my active link, right? My active link. So router dot active link. I want that to equal to login, right? That's what I want. I want to redirect it to login, right? That's the first thing. And I want to clear the session storage, this one. There's my special case, my friends. And again, I'm not happy about this, but it kind of deals with it. If I'm going any other link other than logout, fine. But if I'm going to logout, switch it to login, right? That's my active link, right? But what I want to do is I want to do this part, right? I want to do this part instead of where it says active link is here. I want to take this piece and I want to put it here. So I'm going to say, hey, my active link, remove class, whatever the current active link is. And then what I want to do is I want to get the new active link. It's going to be equal to login, but not link. Else, there's my case, router active link is equal to link. That's the only time it changes. And also, if I'm logging out, I won't have any link data. So then we can probably put that in there too. Right? We don't need to attach link data when we don't need to, right? Okay, so that is the case, special case for logout that I wanted to talk about. All right, excellent. And let's get rid of this part now. We don't need the logout stuff here anymore because sessions clear is going to be happening there, right? And we're pretty good. Okay, we're not done yet. Toggle login is still an issue. All right. How does this look, and does this even work properly? Okay, let's try it out. So log out, we're good. It goes to log in. Here's what it looks like, Nick. So here's my toggle login. Here's my load link. My load link is very simple, right? Toggle login is here, right? And what I'm saying is when I click log out, if the link is log out, then do something special, right? Otherwise, do this. Okay? Hopefully that gives you enough information. All right, and all I've done is I've deleted the logout reference here because I don't want to do links here again and again. I want to do them once here. This is going to be a better way of doing it. Okay, great. So add link events is only going to happen one time, no matter how many times I call it. I can call it 20 times. It's only ever going to add one set of links because it's going to remove all the other ones. Okay, that's what it's going to do. So it's going to go loop through each of the links inside my page and do this. All right. We still got issues. Let's go back and try this out. So again, if I go to admin and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and click login, then we're good for this one, contact list. And if I click this, no problem. What if I click log out? Oh man, contact list is still there. Damn it. I want to get rid of contact list when I'm logged out. Toggle login, my dread partner, right? Why? Because, well, let's look at this for a second. So if I go to toggle login, I say that, okay, start off, is the user logged in? Yes. If the user is logged in, add a logout, change login to logout. Yay. Add the contact list. Yes, excellent. But I never remove it. Remember, the page never reloads. So I have to remove this contact list item if the contact list exists, right? Oh man, I might as well do this part here, way out here, right? So I can say that, and this is the reference to the contact list, right? Very specific. So I'm going to say that, okay, cool, toggle login, check to see if the contact list is there. If the contact list is there, then don't add it again. Okay, what if the contact list is not there? Then don't remove it. All right, so I got to do that too. So first to see if it exists. So I can say that, okay, cool. What if the contact list exists? If the contact list exists. So does the contact list exist? If the contact list, checks if contact list is present. If it's present, right, and I'm logged out, this is the logout part. So this is logged out, right? Let's just put some stuff so you can see it. Logged out. This is logged in, right? This part here is logged in. So logged in, right? This is logged in. This is logged out, right? You can see that that is slightly different, right? I'm just going to put just spaces so you can see that. For, I mean, we shouldn't really put these marks in here anyway, but I'm showing you so that you can see what which part split. So I'm logged out. I swapped the login link for logout, so I put login again. And then what I want to do is I check to see if my contact list already exists. Does it exist? If it does exist, then remove it. So I want to say that I want to hook into the contact list. That means the contact list link, this part, contact list link. I want to say that, hey, jQuery, find my contact list link, right? And if it exists, right, then remove it. So remove the contact list link. Check to see if it'll exist, and if it does, remove it. Yes? Let's see if this works. So back to this, I'm going to log in and log in. Excellent. Here's my contact list link. Everything lights up now, but man, I don't have that link lighting up anymore like it used to. Let's make sure that it's not me. Remember, go here, I'm at home, log out, log in. Man, doesn't light up anymore, right? But we have logout. Logout works, and if I go to any one of these, it doesn't duplicate the link. It only goes there once. I can go to my contact list. When I click on my contact list, it adds it. It makes it highlighted. But not when I go there for the first time, not when I redirect. Not when I redirect. So when I go to login, it doesn't highlight it, but when I click onto it, if I was to click on login somehow, then it would highlight. How about register? Does that work? Register, it doesn't show me the register page anyway. There isn't a register page right now. It just has this is just a stub for now for us to use for next week, okay? Or in the weeks coming. So this is a problem. My link only highlights when I'm clicked onto it, when I actually go there, right? But if I'm here for the login link, it doesn't work, ever. Login link never highlights. And also, if I log in for the first time, these are special cases. If I go one admin and I go to login, if I go to my contact list, it'll show my contact list. Same thing with edit. If I go to my edit, it doesn't show anything because there is no edit link. That's okay, right? But my contact list is okay when I go to it, right? But only when I'm clicked onto it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So here is okay, here is okay, but here is not okay, right? 60% of the time it works every time, right? So there's some issues, right? Some big issues here. All right. Not big issues, but issues. Minor. This is fixed. So the whole idea with toggle login and only adding active links once, that's good. Add link events. Okay. Let's go back to my header again to see what's going on here. Load header. Load header does this. It goes to the header, right? It adds all the link events to the header, right? That's what it does. Okay. So the load header adds all my links, and then I want to load my content, right? I want to load my content. So let's see when I add link events. What does add link events do? Add link events does this. It does all the link events. Cool. When does load link get called? Load link only gets called when I'm calling a link. I'm clicking on a link to go to it. If I am redirecting to a link, that is when all this gets called. The active link, remove the class, blah, 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 whatever the active link is. When I load link, I'm good to go. Okay? That's what happens. So I load link, and then I check to see what my active link is, right? Whatever my active link is incoming, that's the link that I'm passing into load link. And then I'm saying router.activeLink is equal to link. I'm going to make that one active. I'm looking for that link, the hashtag, whatever it's going to be called, right? That link that's incoming, making that active, and I'm removing the old one. Okay? So just saying, these are the things that are happening. Okay? So how come then when I click on when I go to my login link, so I go to login, so let's say I pass in login. Login is not log out, so it goes to here to else. My link 36. Okay, here's my link 36. I remove my active link. Removes the highlighted link. Yes, no problem. But that's okay. I remove it. I'm supposed to remove it, right? Supposed to remove from the old one and put it into the new one. But I go to my link. I remove the active link, whatever the old one is, and then I go to my to this link, check to see if it's not log out, and then if it's not, then make the active link the new link that I went into, and then load the content, right, with the new active link. And then after I finish loading my content, I'm going to add my class active. After I finish loading my content, I'm going to add my class active. Why? Why do I need to do this? Maybe I don't need to do this. What does load content do? Load content toggles login. And toggle login swaps out my links and does all kinds of funny things with them. And it removes active classes and blah, 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 right? This active link happens after I do this toggle my load content. So maybe what I can do is instead move this to here, right? And see if that makes a difference. Remember order of loading and asynchronous for a second. Okay. So that's what this link does. So this load link, it actually does two things. And whenever we do two things with one function, it's bad. It does two things. It adds the link. It kind of changes the active link, right? And then it loads the content based on whatever it's going to be. So this changing the active link from, whatever the active link is, right? This changing of the active link, removing the class and adding it back in, my friends, this is two things that I'm doing, right? And when I do two things, I'm violating the single responsibility principle. Okay? Every function should have a single responsibility. All right? Well, let's see what happens. Let's see if this works. So now I'm here in my login, right? And if I go to my page, and if I go here, my home page is still working, my about page, all these things still work, no problem. If I click on login though, don't work. Because when I click on login, right, I click on the login link, login is something special, right? Login, and if I go to display login for a second, let's see what happens there compared to everything else that goes on. Here's my display login. Display login, I got my login button and whatever, but I click, this is what display login does. But when I click on the link for display login, that happens because of my toggle login. Toggle login is right here, right? It says the only time that login link is going to happen is if I'm logged out. And if I'm logged out, then add link events, right? Here's my link for the first time, right? I'm removing stuff and adding things. When I start removing things and adding things, my login list item is never, ever going to be active, not from my toggle login. The only time it becomes active is when I load the page for the first time. But then what happens is toggle login is called right afterwards. Okay. Again, order of execution, right? Let's go back to my load link. Load link activates the class, blah, 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 and then loads the content. Loads the content, right? Toggles login, and then does the callback function, right? Toggle login is going to be done there, and then it does all the stuff. So every single time I'm toggling login on every load content. When I load my content, it happens. Can I toggle login there, or do I toggle login on my load content? So load content, load link, right? Load link. I could call toggle login, right? And then do the load link, right? As an example, I could do that, but I don't know if you're starting to see the cyclical, the way this is all working in a cyclical way, right? Load header is adding link events, right? Load header is adding link events. So I load my header, right? The first time I add all my link events. And then when I load my content, right? I load my content the first time, it goes to load content. Load content toggles login, right? That's when it happens, okay? And then I do my callback, right? So whenever I load my contents for the login page, it toggles login. Toggle login swaps out the link from logout to login and removes it, right? And once it removes it, it clears it. So that's what toggle login does. And it also removes all events and puts them back. That's what it does every time I call toggle login. I know, I'm getting cross-eyed too. So the reason why this is all happening is because of the asynchronous nature of Ajax, right? Plus the funky way we've been writing this thing, right? We got to make sure that one thing follows another thing. We're making extra functions to do certain things, but some functions do more than one thing. This function, it does more than one thing. It removes all events and then adds them back, but they're related, so I can probably handle this. This is probably okay, okay? Load link doesn't do just one thing. It loads the link, right? It loads my content, right? That's what it does. And it also changes my state, and it also swaps out my active links. Whenever I load content, swaps out my active links, takes my active links away, highlights other ones, okay? That's what it does. So I load my content, load link, right? And loads my content. And when I'm loading my content, I've already swapped out my link. This is when the swapping out happens right here, right? So a couple things we could do. We could move load content higher up after I do all my link swapping stuff. And then I can do my link swapping afterwards. So what I mean is take this part load it first, then do link swapping. So swap active link. That's what this part does, right? Swap active link, and then this push state changes the URL displayed on the browser, right? So this is the swap active link stuff. Swap active link. Okay, depending on what the link is that I'm getting, I swap the active link. Now, if I refresh the page, still no effect, right? Because if I go to here, and I'm here, I'm in this, these all work. But when I click on login, what? Let's do that one more time. Here all works. Projects, now we're behind one again when I did that. Look at that. So I move, but then I'm actually behind one link. So that's a problem. So loading it here and doing it here, blah. That's no good. So this is okay. But this part, swap active link, is different than my load link, right? I want to load everything and then swap the active link, right? But swap active link is something that I need to make. Let's make a new function for that. So again, function, we're going to say swap active link. Or we can call it highlight active link. Maybe that's better. Highlight active link, right? And we want to pass in the link, which is of type string. And we want to return void. Okay, again, we're just compartmentalizing here to fix this problem, right? And we want to get all this here. I want to grab this and I want to put it inside here. Okay. And well, we also have this data piece, which we also have to carry forward. So link, and then data will be, again, a optional, right? So this function highlights the active link in the navbar. Okay, that's what it does. Pass in the data, and here what we need to do is highlight active link. We just pass through the link and the data. So now my load link is a little cleaner, isn't it? Load link is nice and tight, right? As an example, right? And it does one thing. It just loads a link. We call other functions for what it's supposed to do. Highlight active link and load content. It does one thing, right? Load link. Okay. We're compartmentalizing. Can I call highlight active link again? I can call it as many times as I want now, because what this is going to do is going to swap out the active link and it's going to call it back in every single time. Okay. So what if, and I'm just putting it out there, right? What if, right? If the active link is login, right? Then, I can do that anywhere I want, right? So first of all, let's see if this works as is. I've done a swap out. And so now we should be able to do all of this and it works in the right order, okay? This one doesn't work, but at least when I go here to admin and I click on login, I'm able to do everything I need to do. This one is not highlighted when I swap out toggle login, okay? But I have that ability to now call that little function whenever I want. Let's get rid of all these things they bug me. So I'm going to look for, just really quickly, I'm going to look for console log. Anywhere I have a console log, I just want to get rid of these things because they are annoying and they're not doing anything right now. Our page isn't doing anything. So we're just going to get rid of these. So that way we don't have any console logs. There's one more, but that's going to be in my app started. And we've tested it before. We can get rid of it for now. No more console logs. And also this router thing that displays in router.ts119. Let's go into my router and get rid of that too, because I don't care about that, seeing that anymore. We know what the problem is. So this part right here. Okay. Nice. Excellent. Now, let's put this up on GitHub because we fixed our routing problem. We fixed our routing problem. It allows us to do everything we need to do. This is kind of our fix version 2. And if you look at GitHub, and if I go back a couple of steps to our repository, and if I look at my commits right now, we have a commit that says removed href and added load links. Now we fixed the some navigation issues. So fix navigation issues is the next part we want to put up. So we'll say something like git add dot git commit -m, and we say fixed navigation issues. And this is nothing to do with Ajax, so nothing to do with like GitHub and the problem with it that it has. All right, and we're going to git push. That's a different issue. We can't deal with that one. All right, but the actual moving around from one place to the other, that's all good, right? Let's refresh and see if we've got it, right? So we see that it's checkmarked, fixed navigation issues. We should be able to go and view that page now. And when I go from one page to the other, we're able to do that, no problem. Oh, we're already logged in. Let's log out. Oh, what the heck? What happened? How am I able to get there now when I'm logged in? Did it not update? What happened? How come it's working on locally but not online? Did something go wrong? All right, well, remember we were logged in. Maybe that was an issue. So again, admin, log in. What? That didn't do what it's supposed to do. How does it work locally? Why is it working locally but not remotely? That is an issue, my friends. So locally now, when I log in, locally I'm getting contact lists. Remotely, when I log out, let's make sure we log out. Maybe that's the problem. Because remember, we're also we're using it with session storage here. So let's just log out properly. So delete, right? And we'll refresh the page. And it's going to take us to this. So now we're fully logged out. Let's log in and let's try and make sure that we're okay. Log in, and what happened? How come I'm not getting my list in there as well? What's happening here? My console is not giving me an error, and I'm still getting router. If I'm still getting router, that means that it hasn't propagated, right? And sometimes that happens online. I mean, it's the old version, not the new version. So let's do that again. So GitHub Durham programmer, right? As an example, going back to B, and I want to see the environment changes. My environment changes. I want to view my deployments, and I go to my deployment for the first time. I log. Let's make sure I'm not logged in. So my application, I'm not logged in to my session storage. Let's do a login. Log in. And yeah, it still has a problem. And it has a problem because I can see the router. If I'm seeing router, if this is printing out, that means it hasn't propagated, right? See, because there's nothing in here, nothing in the router, right? And the way to check this is to check sources. Check sources. And if I go to sources and if I go to router.ts, then if we see a console log in the router somewhere, which we're not seeing, if we see a console log here, we know that the router, Let's make sure that this isn't also printing it. There's look, the JavaScript never got converted. Look, TS worked, but JS didn't get converted. Okay, does it not do it here? Like what happened? Because it didn't pick it up. So that's a weird thing. I've never seen that before, where my JavaScript didn't update, but my my TS did update. That's weird. Because look, even in my local folder, it didn't do it, but remotely, I still have my console log, and it's the old stuff, right? So my JavaScript didn't get updated. And the way to check this, of course, because it's all propagation online, is to try it out with another browser, because this doesn't have my, you can clear your cache. I'm not going to clear my cache. So it eventually will update, but one thing to check is how this looks. So I'm going to go to GitHub, and then I want to go to Durham Programmer. And let's not go to this one. Sorry. GitHub.com. Durham Programmer. I'm using Firefox here. And let's go to my deployment. Now this I know under i7b if it has a deployment or not. Okay, now look here, and that's one thing that's different that I haven't seen before. i7b, right? It looks like there's a problem. Look it over here. When I go to my Chrome browser, and if I look at the deployments, right? So let's go look at my deployments for i7b. i7b clearly shows that there's an environment deployment, right? Right here, environmental deployment on i7b with Durham Programmer. Let's just grab this one, make sure that I'm okay. And then go back to Firefox and see if this is the same link. And my friends, it is. But I'm not seeing a deployment here. So there's a difference between Firefox and thing. Well, why? Because I'm not signed in on Firefox. Let's sign in. Sure. Oh, not that one. I have to change my password now. Yeah. So now you can see my deployment. My deployment's right here. And what I can do with my deployment is if I go to view deployments, right, then I can see my deployment. I can go to my login page and go to this and go to login, right? And I don't see anything, so don't save. I don't see anything in here. Look, there's nothing in here because I never added it. Let's add a new contact. My add new contact doesn't work. Let's see what my issues are for this, right? Because I'm getting some issues. Inspect element. Remember, Firefox works a little different too, right? I'm not even getting any links, any errors, right? What about my contact list works, but my add contact, it no worky, right? It doesn't show anything and it don't go anywhere. All right, so what's going on with that? How about my contact page on this part? So if I go to deployments, so let's go back to this and go to this part, GitHub pages. And if I look at my deployments for my GitHub page as an example, and if I go to login, same code, I'm here, click add, it works. But why doesn't it work with Firefox? That's an issue. So I'm just talking about this because this is issues that we had a problem with. This also accepts empty stuff. It doesn't do my checking anymore, which is a problem. Shouldn't add nulls. Remember? Shouldn't allow that to happen, right? So this works here locally, but it doesn't show up my contact list anymore here, but it did it when I logged in. So, and it doesn't swap out my login. Let's take a look, inspect, and then again, console, I'm getting router, it's not updated. I'm just pointing this out because these are issues that you can encounter too. And that's kind of a weird thing. So get status, right? My branch stuff online. Get fetch. Get fetch basically shows that if I'm in line with everything I'm doing, but I'm behind in some ways, right? And my router.js is here, and so this is where my router.js has changed. Here's what's happening. Let's make sure that this is transpiling. My watch task is still running. Yes, it's still running. And we can see here and here that there's no differences in our code. Okay, so no differences here. We don't have a console log that's in here at all, but up online there is. I'm going to accept that, guys, for now. All right, let's continue. So we've got some functionality, but we want to do some link highlighting. How do we do that? And we have no functionality when it comes to our stuff on. We have some very limited functionality when it comes to Firefox. If I go to Firefox again, and let me bring up Firefox, and I go to my deployment, go to on Firefox, and I go login. Login actually works. So this is interesting. So login works, right? If I go to my contact and add a new contact, so I say like Tom Smythe, right? And my contact number and my email address and my message, and I say I want to subscribe and click send, well, that's a problem, right? It says that it's going to go to contact, full name, blah, 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 whatever, and it's trying to go to a page that doesn't exist. Look at this. It's trying to kind of do my contact page. Uh-oh. Does that have also a problem when it comes to my this page here online? Right, so let's go into my contact us page and try it again. So Tom Smythe, right? And then 416-558-5558, and then tom.smythe at example.com, and then my message, right? And then subscribe to contact list and click on submit. It goes to this funky place right now. Look, it says WEBD, blah, 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 contact, full name. Oh man, that is an issue. We never saw that. That's a bug. We have to fix that bug too, right? That's a bug on both sides. Okay. How come we never saw that? Well, it's because of the way my contact list works. So if I go to my views, and if I look at my content, and I go to my contact.html, my form, let's look at my form. My form is a class, and then my button is of type submit, my friends. My button is of type submit. Okay, so what do I do when I display contact? So if I go to my display contact, this is both, it's common to both. That means I got an issue with my contact code, right? So I go to scripts, and if I go to my app.ts, right, and if I go to my display contact, so let's do that. When I click my button, I do all this stuff. I get this link. I click my send button on click, right? And it's going to try and fulfill the form, my form validation. Does my form validation first. So form validation goes to test full name, contact number, and email address, which is going to do all this, right? And then it's going to try and execute the form. When I press the button, because my send button is of type submit, it's going to try and submit the form, and I can't allow that to happen anymore. So I need to prevent default. I want to prevent my default behavior. So that definitely has to happen. Event.prevent default. That has to happen. You must do this now for my form, right? Because it's on a submit button, or I don't make it a submit button inside of my code. And what did I do for my edit? Is my edit also having a problem? Like what's going on with my edit form? So I go back to my, this could be a remnant, right? As an example of what I did before. So if I go back to my edit.html page, my button is of type button, not submit. So that's what I'm going to do instead. So I'm going to say, let's just make this a button from my contact form. So on my contact form itself, which is inside my content, let's change it from the submit button to a button. And reset, that's okay. Reset resets the form. But what does reset do? Right? What does reset do? Well, okay, first of all, let's fix this bug, one bug at a time. We found the bug. So we're just going to say git add dot git commit -m, and we're going to say fixed contact form bug git push, right? Hopefully you guys are getting the challenges when it comes to Ajax and making this work all together, and creating our little application. We're going to fix a lot of this when it goes to having a back end. Right now we don't have a back end, we only have a front end, and it can be tricky to get this all done. Good. I'm glad you're getting the challenges. All right, so let's try that out and go on Chrome first and see if it's propagated. So on Chrome, we're going to go back to the form. I'm just stepping back all the way until we get our form. And I want to click on my Contact Us form and add that in. First of all, let's look at my contact list. I'm still logged in. I see Tom Smythe. It worked, but I want to get rid of Tom Smythe for a second. I want to add him back in. So I'm going to go to my Contact Us form and add him back in. So Tom Smythe. 416-558-5558. Email address is tom.smythe@example.com. And my message is hello. And I want to subscribe to the list. And I get this page problem. It says that I'm trying still to get this contact page working. And what this means is it hasn't propagated yet. It hasn't propagated yet, right? That's how I know that it's not working, because it hasn't propagated. If it was propagating, then if I press this and I went to my contact page and I click send, I wouldn't get this. I immediately know it's not propagated, right? Because look, I can press send and I shouldn't get, if I click send, I shouldn't get this. I shouldn't get these little things coming out because I changed it from a submit, right? It's not a submit anymore. It is a thing. It is a regular button. So let's check to see if that's true. So again, I'm going to go back to my deployments and see what happens. So again, back to this. Let's look at my commits. Here's my commit, right? And let's look at my page and see if it changed my content. So my contents, sorry, my views, content, contact, did it change it to a button? It did. My button is a button. But on, if I was to go to, let's make sure I don't have anything open here. Let's close this one off so we can release the cache for this one. If I go to my deployments, my active deployments, and I go to my pages, this is my active deployment. This is deployed 3 minutes ago. If I click the top one, and if I go and look at it, so inspect, and if I look at my Contact Us page, and I want to look at this button, so if I inspect this button, then the button is still a submit, which means it hasn't propagated. I'm still getting it as as cached. How about in my Firefox browser, right? Is it propagated here, right? And this is where, guys, you have to be, kind of careful about this. So I want to look at inspect element, and is my inspect element a button or a submit? And notice in Firefox, it kind of does some other funky things, but it basically tells you that the button is still of type submit, which means it hasn't propagated. So hard to test is what I'm saying. Okay, we're timing out, but I want to kind of go through the details of how this all works so you see the challenge you might have with your lab as well, right? Because this is what's going to happen, right? So locally, we're good, right? Contact doesn't do contact. Cancel button wipes it out, right? So cancel does. And we got to think of what we want this to do. Our cancel button should be different. So our contact us form, it was a remnant. We didn't really change that. So some pieces aren't working properly. Okay, last part. And then if you give me another couple minutes, we'll fix this top part here now. So now the next part is how do I toggle login so I have my all my stuff highlighted when my contact list is there. If I click on my contact list is one thing, right? But if I log into my contact list for the first time, when I redirect, if I'm not clicking on it, then it's not highlighted. So clicking works, but if you don't click, it doesn't work. Okay, but only for my contact list, but not for my login page. My login page, no matter how many times I click it, it doesn't work. So these are the hints that we have. So any suggestions? So let's take a look. And then we'll stop for today, okay? And I appreciate you guys having patience with this whole process, but this is part of it, right? The challenges of doing what we're doing, all right? So really, it's in here. So when if I go back to my outline and if I go to my add link events, I'm adding link events. So this has nothing to do with the active link, right? And when I highlight the active link, I'm calling it and I'm doing what it's supposed to do. It's going in, it's saying, hey, what is my current active link? Whatever my current active link, remove that. Okay, cool. And then if my link is equal to logout, then my active link is going to be login, right? And then I want to set my active link to login. It's set to login. So hash login is what's going to be there. Oh, see? And that's the problem, because if I look at my toggle login, my ID is login here, right? This is my ID login. And my ID is logout here, right? And what's happening is I'm toggling the login and there is no ID of login yet. There's no ID of login yet, right? I haven't done this part. Why? Look at the order of operations again. So add link events. I've added them in. I'm highlighting the link and I'm highlighting the link before I load my content. And because I'm loading my content after I'm highlighting the link, then what's happening is, well, my toggle login doesn't get activated because my toggle login doesn't exist until I load content. Then my toggle login gets sent in, but it's too late because I'm only logging in for the first time, and it's only going to do it if I'm not logged in, right? So that's when it happens, and it only does it if I'm logged in again. So it's like when I toggle login, every time I call toggle login, maybe this is a place to because I'm loading content every single time. Maybe toggle login is a place that I want to put my links. So let's go there, toggle login. I'm just putting this out there to you. So what if after I do all of this, I add link events, and after I add link events, then I also call that other thing that is highlight active links. Now, the problem with highlighting active links is I need to pass in two pieces of data, right? The link itself and any data. The link itself and any data. I got to pass in that information, right? Highlight active link. So that's a problem because if I'm passing the link, whatever the active link is, again, I'm just passing it through this time, right? So router.activeLink, I'm passing it through, right? If I did this, active after toggle login, I'm going to have other side effects. Login looks like it's okay, right? Logging in, that looks like it's okay. We're still good. But what about when I go to here and I log in again and I go to edit Chino Worky. And the reason why it doesn't work is because I don't have the data that I would have got from the link in the first place, right? Because now the data has been wiped out by this. So it's like I want to do the highlight active link, not here. This is a nice idea, but it's got to be done after I do toggle login, right? And that's inside of display content. So my load content, toggle login, I have the, I may have the data, right? If I have it, but do I have it here for my callback? Well, what about, I can't do it in my callback because I have no idea what that callback is. So that is the gist of it, right? And I called my highlight active link here, and I have my data. And then I call this, and I could call it again. So I can call it twice. That is something I can do, right? So I can just call this data twice because I have the data now to pass in, right? Here. I could do it here like this, right? I could, because I have the data. In my load header, I don't have the data. In my load content, I don't have the data, right? And that means that, well, if I'm doing that here, then load link is when it's going to happen. And load link is only called, well, it's always called, right? So let's see what happens then. But if this makes any sense, and we're back to not having it again. Okay. So that is the challenge, my friends. Or one more thing, we decouple the highlight active link from passing data. We don't care about data. So this data part, when we pass in the router link data, we don't do that here, right? We only do it in my load link, this part in here. So we're saying highlight the link, but who cares about the data? Do the data here. Don't pass in data anymore to my active link because that doesn't make any sense. It's doing two jobs, not one, right? So we do the active link data here after we highlight the link, regardless of what happens. If the data is empty, the data is empty, right? And inside my highlight active link, I don't need this anymore, or this. Okay, so that's kind of elimination. And now if I put that highlight active link after or before, it won't matter, right? And it should, this has to be in the toggle login to give me that effect, which is after I toggle login, I gotta call the active link. Let's just go to definition here, go to definition. Remember I said make it work and then fix it? This is why. So here is where it's going to be the toggle login, which is the router.active link. And now we should have everything working as it should. Or it should appear that it's working as it should. But really, we're doing a bunch of stuff that is some repetition. And we need to do some additional massaging if we're going to take this a step further. Let's do that. So I'll say it's a bug fix. So I'll say git add dot. We added other bugs, git commit -m, but more in terms of optimizations. Fixed bug with link highlighting. Git push. All right, for your lab, or your for your lab and for your for your in-class exercise here. In-class exercise, screenshots of TypeScript, because we're using TypeScript this entire time, right, to make this work, which adds a level of complexity. It gives us some code hinting, but it also adds levels of complexity that we didn't have before. So now we have to do with two things, the JS file and the TS file. We also have, when we put things up online, we have this propagation problem. When I put it up online, sometimes it takes an extra moment for it to propagate across the world, right? That's why we're getting that caching happening. The JavaScript is caching, it's seeing that nothing's reloaded or nothing's changed, and it's loading that again, but really we've swapped out the JavaScript because the TypeScript has changed. All right, so that is a problem. So please take a screenshot of this, which shows that you're using TypeScript. And then, of course, maybe a couple screenshots here to show that you can log in and that it's logged in, that it shows the proper highlights and so on. That's it for today. That gives us everything we need to set up nicely for next week. Is it perfect? Hell no. We still have issues with our deployment online, right? And let me tell you why, right? Because if I go to my deployment pages, my active pages online, we still have this problem. The reason why it's saying page not found when we get here is because index.html is not my default page for Durham programmer github.io. It's not, right? It's looking for any page, but it doesn't know what this is because this is a project and my router is seeing what this is, right? And when I log in, and if I go to admin, I've got remnants happening of stuff that may or may not work the way we want it to. In this case, it did this time around. Let's delete this. But some other places may not work. Maybe, for example, in the contact us page, maybe that's going to not work, right? So this is where we have our issues. Right? But I'm sure if you check this later, maybe it's going to work the way you think it's going to work, right? Maybe. It's not working right now. And it's not working right now because it's not doing what it's supposed to do. It says load resources, right? Contact is, it says failed to load resources. Server responded with status of 404 for contact, right? And we can't get there, remember? That's a problem. No, but I want to show you this because, guys, that's just the way it is. We tried to get there, but there isn't anything there, and that's what's causing a problem. And this still seems to function, and we need to reprogram it. So contact page is broken. There's a couple of things that are good, but we've got a lot of other really good things here too, right? Which is some of the things we talked about. Okay, so that's it for today. Way overboard. Sorry for taking this too long. But I think it illustrates the point, a lot of little things that we've went through, some troubleshooting, some debugging, to show you how we did everything, and so to give you a sense of how everything kind of knits together. All right, that's it for me, guys. I'm going to stop recording now online, and I'll see you guys next week. Good luck on your lab. I think it's going to still be straightforward to do, and please make sure not to forget your test. Okay.